Happiness.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the CvCISO Podcast, episode 72, with your friend and ours, Evan Francine, who is right that
Francine.
way.
Evan
Yeah.
Francine.
Francine.
And I call him Jordan Darling. Andy, who's not here today, calls
That is
him
my born name.
Yeah. So Joshua Darlington, you're right over here, and it's great to see you. Last week we had Joe Moldenhauer join us, and this week we have Joe.
Mojo.
To help with some news. And our topic this week is we're going to talk about Evan's recent article called "The Road to Hell is Paved with Convenience." As far as upcoming events, the January cohort 17, 17, is January 5th. So anybody interested in taking advantage of that and learning magical things, please connect with Andy. This is being recorded, so he'll be back from his beloved PTO by the time this is published. Hit him
This
up.
is also our chance to be unfiltered, since the adult is no longer here with us.
That is true.
So any complaints can be also sent to Andy's email.
Yes. And if you have any fart jokes, you may want to seize that moment,
And if I owe anybody any money, you can also email
let Andy know. We can pay you back in Slim Jims that are left over from Hacks and Hops.
You said you welcomed children to this show. Are we a children's show?
Yeah, I would like to think so.
I'm not good at that.
Are you trying to keep the children away from fart jokes? Where are you taking us? Yeah.
No. I think they should be introduced to it. I think they get sheltered too much these days.
Yeah. No, I think we have some valuable.
Most children, when they look at my face, they get scared. So we should have, if children are going to be listening, why don't you listen and not watch the recording? I think that'd be safer.
They're not going to obey that.
Yeah.
Kids never.
They're just going to.
It's like when they cover their eyes, when they go like this,
Right.
Yeah.
So the next cohort starts January. What day was it?
January 5th, 2026. Okay. Yeah.
And when you say cohort, you're talking about the CvCISO cohort, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there other cohorts?
Yeah. I think there's like level 3s coming up pretty soon. And
yeah. Wow. What a unfulfilling introduction that was.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, we are working really hard behind the scenes on the level 3 courses. The big modification to them is they are going to be instructor led. So they'll be more interactive with the intent that we can really challenge the perceptions of the learners that take it. Those are going to be rolling out in January. And then we have another program coming live in January as well on API security and governance. How to build an API and security governance program, what to look for, and how to set it up and manage it. So we got a lot of exciting things coming. That's
this is great.
We're teaching a lot of people to be really, really awesome vCISO. And then what we did earlier this week, if anybody missed it, which I'm sure some people did, we did a secrets to how to build an awesome vCISO business. Because I think it's one thing to teach you all the stuff you need to do to be a really good vCISO. And that's what that first cohort is on January 5th. It's taking you basically from, I have no experience at all in being a vCISO, or maybe I've got a lot of experience. It doesn't really matter. It's standardizing the way we do things so that we're serving our customers in the best way possible. When you do that, you build trust, credibility, likability, those 3 magic things, and you have a long-term customer who just continues to pay you, right? So you build this monthly recurring revenue. So it's one thing to learn how to do all this stuff, as a security person. It's another thing to learn how to build a really awesome business. And that's the part I really, really enjoyed when we had that webinar yesterday. And so for listeners, look for it. Look for when we drop it again, because that was the first time we've done that, where we had the CEO of FR Secure, the chief revenue officer of FR Secure. I'm not a sales guy, so me listening to Drew tell how to sell stuff, I mean, it's like fascinating to me. I'm probably never going to be the guy who does that. But if I were growing a business, I would know how important that is to get somebody and follow these kinds of things. And the proof is in the pudding, right? We don't speak from just like we made some shit up. Sorry, kids. We just made something up because it sounded good, or we read some books. This all comes from hardcore experience. When you talk about me and you talk about you, Dave, and talk about Joe, and you talk about Marty here or Jordan, I mean, there's a lot of experience at the table. So doing the work, we pretty much know how to do that, right? So following that recipe, but then how do you grow a business, right? And so when you think of that, like FR Secure is killing it in the vCISO business. We can't keep up with all the business. So there's lots of business to go around. We just want to make sure that if you're going to serve these customers as a vCISO, that you do it right.
Yeah.
If you don't do it right, then you become part of the broken in the industry, and we want to know who you are so that we can put you out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple.
And we were talking about yesterday just the value of having standardization. So we are speaking the same language, we're on the same page, and just as this person's building their practice, this person can be somewhere else in the US or wherever building their practice, but now these two can support each other and find
and
this.
You just keyed on, that's the thing I'm actually the most excited about, is the community. When you have a community of people who see things the right way, serve the customers, have the priorities straight, it's amazing. Because there's so much brokenness in the way vCISO work is done across the board. Doing it the right way, it's the only way to build a viable business that will continue to pay dividends, like as long as you keep providing value.
Yeah, and that's what I'm so appreciative in the role that I have is, I mean, it's been a lot of work this year, no doubt, just kind of getting things together. But everything that we've been doing, working on with Fatima and Andy and I, we know is foundational to being able to take things to the next level in support of the community and these sorts of initiatives to really start to take some of these things and start making them something tangible that we can take to market and really help make a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's so cool to see it grow.
Yeah.
Well, and as someone who's an outsider, not just not employed by FR Secure or Security Studio, like I like, this is what I've been thirsty for, and I think like this is you guys putting following through on the mission. You guys talked about that at this thing. It's like, who else is out there trying to reproduce themselves? It with little to no, what am I thinking of? Like, there's nothing in return. I mean, I don't want to say nothing in return, because I mean, but like it's just a great way to hit that mission, and because people need it. People need to learn it and to see the steps, to have the curtain pulled back a little bit so we can do it. I think so many other things I felt like, okay, great, I've learned this, now what? Now what? Who's going to help me get going?
Well, and that's I love these opportunities to put the mission to the test, right? Because I think a lot of times people will say things as, out in their marketing things, mission before money, or, it's all about serving the customers first, put the customer first. But then when you put it to the test, you find out that that's not true. But when we say mission before money, it's things like yesterday. It's things like the whole vCISO program. It's things like the CISSP mentor program. It's like there's nothing in return except for our mission. Our mission is to fix the broken industry. Our mission is not to create $1 billion company and take advantage of everybody.
Right.
You know, we will make money. We do make money, but we focus on the mission first. The truth of the matter is, give me one company on the planet that doesn't need information security leadership. The truth is, every single company, everywhere, doesn't matter if you're 2 employees, doesn't matter if you're 2 million employees, they need information security leadership. And so how many of those are actually getting information security leadership? And then how many of those are getting good information security leadership? Or are they getting leadership from somebody who just likes to check boxes and do compliance things or buy the next blinky light and put it into the environment, not realizing that complexity is the worst enemy of security, right? So there's such a need for this. And when we get people marching to the beat of the same drum, information security is risk management. That's what the name of the game is, right? So what is risk management? So you go down this path and you create, I think, really effective, really powerful information security professionals that can provide that information security leadership. The truth is, FR Secure, no matter how fast it grows, no matter how many people we hire, will never be able to serve that need.
Right.
So we need people. We need other companies to come on board and do things the right way for the benefit of the customers.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm realizing just more and more as things are coming together and starting to take traction is, even when I did the introduction, we'll talk about the cohort and when that comes in the class. I need to talk more about the community, because everything that we really talked about in the workshop yesterday orbited around the community that comes with it and how the program brings people together and how it can continue to help uplift individuals as they learn, build their practice, and how the individuals can support each other. And, because that's kind of where, like you were saying, Jordan, okay, I've done this, what's next? That's kind of where the rubber hits the road, and even the monthly meetings that, you and Joe are part of now, that just helps bring the community and each of us closer together.
Yeah. And we're just scratching the surface at the value of that too. So, I mean,
yeah, that's what makes 2026 so exciting.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse, vCISOs.
No excuse. No excuse. Well, that's the thing, right? We all get paid. I mean, most of us. Like I've always considered, if I'm being paid, I'm a professional, right? So I need to act like a professional. I need to know what the hell I'm doing, and I need to be flipping awesome at it because somebody is trusting me with their business. My job as their vCISO is to consult them to make good information security risk decisions and then implement those risk decisions. If I suck at either 2 of those things, I'm stealing money from the business, money that they can't use to grow their business, right? So it's really important for us because I think a lot of people think, I'm a CISO, I'm a security person, and you do it and you're kind of like feeling like you're cool. Yeah, maybe you're cool, but how good are you? Are you actually good at this? When you give advice, do you say it with confidence because you know it's right? Do you put it out there like information? Like yesterday, a buddy of mine tagged me on LinkedIn because there was a survey that comes out every year by the I don't know what the hell they're called, but anyway, it's a survey that they put out. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Where is it? Because you can find it yourself. The Cybersecurity Hub. So the Cybersecurity Hub every year they put out basically the same survey. They have 1.9 million followers. So there's a lot of people, that follow this group, I guess. The question is, who is ultimately responsible for cybersecurity within an organization? And you've heard me talk about this in prior years, because every year people get it so damn wrong. So your options are CEO, the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, the board, or other, right? And so this is the percentage of people who've answered. 21% of the people who've answered this survey said it's the CEO. 21% say the CEO. 52% say it's the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. 21% say it's the board. 6% say other. And then when you read these, the comments that people put, like Gabriel says, everybody. Peter says, everybody. Scott says, everyone. Genevieve says, it's everyone. Everyone is responsible for cybersecurity. So you read these things, and if you know how governance works in information security, when you say everyone is ultimately responsible, what you're saying is no one is responsible. That's a complete fucking cop-out. And I'm sorry I swore again, kids, but this is where we're at in this industry. So 21% got it right. If you don't know the answer to that question, the right answer is the board. Because when you give me 4 options, CEO, CISO, the board, or other, you could argue maybe the CEO, but the fact that you put board there, I'm going to assume that the board is an option. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given me an option. At the end of the day, who's ultimately responsible for information security within an organization? It's the board, period. That's it.
Even if you take that 6% said other, so it's quite a smaller percentage, but you never said intern was not an option,
right,
as an answer.
But this is the sad thing.
Answer was either, it is the intern did something with DNS.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you look at this and you think like, okay, how many people are giving poor advice? How many people are leading information security incorrectly within organizations? The board may not want to hear that they're the ones who are ultimately responsible, but that's not my job, is to tell you what you want to hear. My job is to tell you the truth so that you can make good risk decisions.
Right.
So whether you like it or not, and so that's part of this CvCISO, is giving you the confidence to say it, to do it. Because how the rest of the information security program, if you start at the top and it's shit, what do you think it's going to look like at the ground?
Muddy
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 52% answered the CISO. So we have 21% who said it was the CEO, 52% who said it's the CISO. How in the fuck can the CISO be ultimately responsible for information security when you don't enable them to be ultimately responsible? If you wanted the CISO to be ultimately responsible, you actually can't do that, because the way corporate governance works, the board of directors, their ultimate responsibility is for the direction of the company, its management of all the corporate assets. So the CISO, even if you wanted the CISO to be ultimately responsible, you can't even do it.
Right.
Because, and if you think it's the CISO, then you either misunderstand governance or you misunderstand what information security actually is. So you have 52%, 21% said the board, and 6% said others. So you have 79% of the people who answered this survey. And so far there's 3,000, it was only published 16 hours ago, 3,283 votes. Most of those votes, I assume, would be coming from security people. So the way I interpret this is 21% of us in this industry know this answer, this simple, basic, fundamental answer.
Yeah.
So that means 4 out of 5 don't.
Right. And so it's crazy. And you look at some of the titles of the people who responded. You've got cyber risk consultant, VP CISO of information security, senior consultant with this, I'm not going to say company names, external CISO. These are information security leaders who are out there giving advice on this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to trust you with my company to give me advice on everything else around information security. No, thank you. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to fill this need, and we need to fill this mission of creating VCSOs, CvCISOs, who are doing this right? This basic fundamental thing, and then everything else that supports it. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I love working with you guys, that we get to work on this, and why we get to, I guess, invite new people to come into this mission with us. And it's not, so parlaying this into convenience, right? Which is the blog post. It would be a hell of a lot more convenient to say that everyone is ultimately responsible for information security in an organization. And the twist on words here is, yes, everyone has responsibilities, but everyone is not ultimately responsible. It's almost like you're playing politics with this answer.
Yeah.
And if you haven't figured out the governance on who's ultimately responsible, how in the hell are you going to figure out the responsibilities of all the people on the ground, of everybody else?
Right.
So you shot yourself in the foot, from the get-go, if you say everybody.
Well, it's like saying everybody's responsible for the budget.
They probably have a responsibility or two within the budget. Yeah. Agreed.
But if we just all sit around and go, okay, we got to do our budget, and everybody's responsible, how do you think that meeting's going to play out?
Right.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing too is it's so logical. And I think a lot of people that probably responded with like everybody or everyone, they thought, I got you. I really know this. It's everyone.
Yeah.
And you didn't get,
and you get where they're
who's actually done this before.
Right, mister.
You get where their heart's at, though. I think you nailed it. Is that like they're kind of thinking about it from a different way, which is not what the point of the question was. And it's like, yeah, everyone's going to be confronted with an information security, risk decision throughout the company, like, whether it's a phishing email or whatever. So everyone's going to be exposed to it, and they're going to have responsibilities that hopefully are trained, down, like, to help keep them educated and informed on how to do this. But so they're kind of thinking about it quickly and thinking, well, what if, here's a trick answer kind of a thing. But when you dissect it like that, you realize, but they're not ultimately responsible.
Well, and we've drilled this into people, because how many training and awareness programs have you seen where people say, well, people are the biggest risk, or it's everybody's responsibility. You got to be a human firewall or whatever else, right, to get the point across. But what it really is it's a complete lack of information security leadership. If you were a good information security leader, you would call it the way it works, right? I would talk to the board of directors and I would inform them that you are ultimately responsible for information security here. If you didn't know that, and I'm assuming you didn't know that because you have no idea what risk posture we're at right now. You've never seen an information security risk assessment before. And what I found is that some boards, every board's got a different personality to it, but some boards welcome that message. They're like, holy shit, you're right. Because they want to do the right things. Most board members want to do the right things. They're not just some rich, abstract person, that doesn't give a shit, that just wants money. Most of them really want to do the right thing. And they're really, really good people, and they're really, really smart. I think a lot of times we haven't been honest with them for whatever reason. Maybe we're afraid. Maybe we don't even know how this is supposed to work, and we're afraid to admit that. But somebody has to step up, and somebody has to tell the board of directors that you are the ones who are responsible. If you don't have a board of directors, then whoever sits at the top, an owner, a founder, a CEO, who's ever at the top of the organization, when shit hits the fan, that's where the buck stops. And you have to empower them to make those good decisions, because then they're like, oh, I need to make better decisions. Yeah, but that's why I'm here.
You're a lot of what you're saying is hitting close to home for me, because I think that I can struggle with confidence. I can know the right answer. especially, and I grow in my confidence, especially through the community here and through the CvCISO program, but there's people that will, that I may feel inferior to. Usually it's from a technical level, like they're an engineer and they're like, well, actually this, and I can quiet down pretty quick in some situations. And so I think that is important to keep building that confidence. And one thing that I think is a great idea because it's my idea and we'll see what happens. But for the CvCISO program, you know what would be a level to add is introducing some opportunities for role playing. I think you're talking about talking to a board, and if we could incorporate, like, okay, let's do a little role playing. Okay, come up here. Someone's going to pretend to be the board. Maybe even get some board members that have been a part of boards, and like, all right, deliver the message, and because that's, I mean, you think about, that's how you really exercise it. You take it from the
Well,
page.
that's a great suggestion, and that's coming in the level 3 communications.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If I wasn't such a damn squirrel, I would have had that completed by now. But yeah, it's role playing. It's, how do you deal? And like, I always think, but let me pose a question. Would you rather tell the board the truth and get kicked out of the board meeting and never invited back, or tell them, let them continue to live the lie and be their best friend?
Yeah, it's really
because
not
one of those is mission driven, the other is very selfish, and it's not mission driven.
Yeah. Just in listening to you guys talk, I hadn't realized this before, but the really good CISOs and vCISOs are the ones that have imposter syndrome. It's when you find the other ones that come in, like you were saying, with that full on confidence, no, it's this way or the highway, kind of a thing. You can almost use that as a metric of how much is that person questioning themselves.
Dude, that's weird. That's weird that you meant, because I don't have imposter syndrome. So then when you said that, I'm like, shit, I must suck at being a vCISO.
Well,
I'll tell you,
that wasn't my intent.
no, I know, I get it. I get where you're coming from, though, because I think ego gets in the way sometimes, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Ego, posturing,
But the
just.
reason, I think the reason why I don't have imposter syndrome is, I think I grew up an only child. I excelled. The sport I was the best at was an individual sport, being a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
So I never compared myself to anybody else. It was, the meme was, I think Phelps, Michael Phelps, where he said, winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners.
Mm-hmm.
That really resonated with me, because I can't get imposter syndrome if I'm not comparing myself with somebody else. Instead of focusing on being the best CISO or being the best father or being the best business leader or being the best whatever, focus on being the best you.
Yeah, because even the way that I meant it was comparing yourself to what you know and challenging that.
Well, that's what I was saying too. I appreciate the perspective.
Yeah.
Because I think I knew where you were going, or what you meant. But I wanted to say that piece, because if somebody does feel like they don't have imposter syndrome, you can still be a fantastic CISO. I think I think a lot of CISOs are afraid to stick their neck out. They're afraid to come out from the herd. There's a lot of safety. There's a lot of safety in herd mentality. As long as I do what everybody else is doing, I'm pretty safe.
Yeah.
And this is the way a lot of corporate leaders lead too. That's why they always ask, or a really common question is, well, how do we compare with everybody else? They're asking that because as long as you're in the herd, it's really hard to find you negligent in a court of law, because negligence,
Yeah.
the bar for that is what would a reasonable person do in a similar situation. And if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you can't be, you're really not negligent. But the problem is with our industry is in the herd is running off the fucking cliff. So unless you want to run off the cliff with the herd safely, you'll run off the herd safely until you get to the cliff. You got to break from the herd. You got to lead. You got to do things that are different, things that aren't working. So you look at our industry, you see the number of breaches that are occurring, you see the lack of accountability across the board for these things. Whatever we're doing isn't working.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the CvCISO, and that's why I love our community. I love because the thing, even if you've been in this industry for flipping ever, I'm learning every single day. I get perspectives from you guys that I've never considered before. It's like, oh shit, I never thought of that. Because if I had it all figured out, then the shit wouldn't be broken, right? So obviously what I'm doing isn't working either, but being open-minded enough to shift gears and move into another spot, if it makes sense.
Yeah. I learned so much yesterday just from listening to the others of where they are in their journey, whether it's the journey's beginning or, some of the others that have been doing it for a while and how they got there,
Right. Well, I love hearing, because Joe, you did one of your first information security risk assessments where you led it just a couple of weeks ago. And when you were saying what you're working on and the feedback that you're getting, I thought that was amazing, because I think as somebody who's done things before, who really is invested in other people, you want them to do it better than you did. Right. So your first information security risk assessment was miles ahead of the first one I ever did, which is awesome, because you want to keep pushing this ball forward. So kudos to you. I'm excited for what other things you're going to do better than I did.
You were just lining things up and knocking them out.
Truth.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Where would you say, Joe, where would you say your confidence level is right now on a scale of 1 to 10 after completing your first one?
I have to go with, I think my confidence level inched up just a little bit, to maybe a 6. I think I'm sitting at a 6 right now. And I think I was at a 5. It was kind of right in the middle of things. It depended on what was going on, but I think my confidence level went up to a 6.
And I think it's funny because maybe you're feeling like, this is your first one and your confidence will go up, the more you do. And that certainly is true. But when I hear you talk about your passion for this, and just how much fun it is to show up and do this stuff every single day, like to me, that's who I want running my assessment. Right. I want someone who is excited about it, that that they're so passionate about it. That, from my perspective, is rather than, someone who feels super confident, but they're just kind of getting through the day,
For sure.
I think your passion should increase that up.
Wouldn't you rather have Joe do your information security risk assessment than an information, like a vCISO who's got 30 years experience that just goes through the motions? They've done it so many times. It's like, right. Whatever. It's like, I'm on autopilot here.
Yeah.
Because the one who's on autopilot is they're going to miss things. You don't get that passion. You don't get that unique perspective of looking at things. I would much rather have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And meeting the client where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So Joe, what was your confidence level before and after passing CISSP?
Honestly, I don't think the confidence level changed because of the exam. I think my confidence level changed because of the lessons learned when leading that first risk assessment. And that's where I had to work on gaining my confidence. And now I'm feeling, a little bit more confident to deliver, the results with them. And I feel that, what my recommendations, I feel confident in my recommendations to them, which is I wanted them to be authentic and I wanted them to be genuine. So I feel that's where some of my confidence came in when, um, I was QA'd and I took some of the great suggestions to heart and, changed things up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling a lot more confident going into this. So I think really the experience is where I'm gaining some of my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's what happens, and that's fantastic because by doing it, you're putting yourself out there, and then you get the feedback that you get from when it was QA'd. So you can, and the person that did it's like one of the perfect ones to be doing that as in a mentorish role for you. And so they give you the feedback of where you crushed it the first time, and where there are some opportunities to improve, which hits all of us. Yeah.
There's an interesting dynamic with confidence. I think I was talking to my wife about this earlier, where like, and you guys can tell me what you think. I have, in my experience, like sometimes I want to be transparent, and so like I feel like I should be able to kind of talk about, oh yeah, I haven't really done this much, but I'm, and you want to kind of be, you don't want to, lie about your experience or anything like that, but but to understand that like the receiver, the person you're talking to, whether it's like um, a business that you're maybe trying to sell your services to, or you're doing the assessment for, or maybe a job interview or something like that, where there's this fine line between overselling yourself to the point of maybe you're scratching the surface of lying or misleading, versus feeling like you're sharing your insecurities maybe too much. Because I think that oftentimes you share a little bit of insecurity and it can be taken as a lot. Like it amplifies. They think, oh, this guy they seem very insecure, when really you're just kind of, it's coming from a place of humility. You want to kind of be humble. I don't want to oversell myself. Um,
Yeah.
and there's just like weird dynamic that you don't want to downplay yourself so much that it amplifies and they think, oh, this guy's nervous Nancy, versus overselling yourself to where you're.
Yeah. Well, you can never mislead them, right? So if they ask me, how much experience do you have in this? And if I don't have any, I'm going to tell you I don't have any, you know, but there's a way to say it. I think that's not that they can still instill confidence because I was always known for doing projects that, uh, like I always told the salespeople, like as long as it has to do with information security and it doesn't require us to sell them a product, say yes, bring me to the table because I view this as an opportunity. I think some people are just confident in going into things they've never done before, and they're still going to do a fantastic job at it. But I will tell you that, I've done like one that comes to mind is an FDA validation, you know, the hell, right? An FDA validation. There was a customer that we had done business with before, and they needed to have an FDA validation. They were actually a drug pharmacy distributor kind of place, and so they needed to have their distribution processes essentially FDA validated. And they asked hey, do you guys do FDA validation? I'm like, no. I've worked around FDA validation. I was the CISO for, a pharmaceutical company, but I didn't do the validation. That's a specialized skill. Like, well, can you do it? I'm like, I'll give it my best shot. You know what I mean? I'll learn it and do the, the best I can and whatever. But they still hired me to do that work. And I knew going in, like, holy shit, what have I gotten myself into? Some people are good with that. Some people aren't. Right. So I think you have to look at yourself and like, am I comfortable walking into something that I've never walked into before? And it's okay to not be that. Everybody's built different,
Mm-hmm.
But I've done a lot of projects where I've told the customer, and even if the customer assumed that I've done this before, I will tell them I've never done this before. I don't want to go into this with you assuming I'm an expert on this thing when I've never done it, but you know that. And you trust that I'm going to be thorough. I'm going to do it right. It may take a little bit longer. I may, make a few mistakes along the way, but at the end of the day, we're both going to come out, looking like rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you got to be honest, because if they did find out, or we went on some assumption that I was, I've done this 50 times before, and they find out later that I hadn't, those three things, right? Trust, credibility, and likability. My trust just went to shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the thing about starting out. It's okay to start out. Everybody starts out somewhere. None of us were born information security people or born VCSOs. We learned it. We continue to learn every day. I think, one of the things about mentoring is from a mentor perspective, well, a lot of times you think it's like a one-way kind of thing. Like you're giving this mentee all this wisdom that you've acquired all these years and all that shit. I get more out of the mentee than I've ever given. If you go into it with the right frame of mind, because they're bringing a perspective that's unique. It's fascinating. I think that's the way you lead it, right?
That's exactly what happened with Fatima and I. She was coming in, oh, Dave's gonna be my mentor. But, I learned so much from her just in a variety of different perspectives, and you're right. And that's where the magic happens because
She's
you're
so
both.
smart.
Yeah, that helped. Yeah, that was.
I'm actually intimidated to talk to her because she's so fucking smart. Right. That's the thing, right? We do all this posturing like, oh, you've been in this industry for all these years and whatever. It's like you miss out on the value that people bring to the table when you start playing that game because Fatima is smart as hell. The
Yeah,
thing about Mojo, and I said it last week about Mojo, like you brought this passion. You went out and found me at that all company get together, and like you're just a fucking rock star, and you haven't even scratched the surface of what you're gonna do. So, yeah, it gets intimidating, like because I missed those opportunities. I'm 30 years into this industry. I can't do an assessment, my first ever assessment, like she did it. Fuck, but
I'm just
that
having a
ship
blast.
sailed.
I'm having the most fun. And
That's so
and to
cool.
me that's great. And if I can and helping people along the way, and that's what seals the deal.
Yeah, but that's very. Don't forget that that's very inspirational to the one that you're serving, and that inspiration's very infectious, and that's kind of what is such a big difference between what we were talking about earlier and what you bring to the table versus somebody who's been doing a long time, maybe just going through the motions.
Yeah, it's inspirational to me. I said that last week. It motivates me because I think it's easy to get stuck in the rut of the mundane and continue to do the same shit week over week, and then you talk to somebody. If you actually stop to listen and appreciate their perspective, it changes. Everything. It motivates you. It makes you think things differently. I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Well,
So
Dave,
convenience. Oh, go
Dave,
ahead. Sorry.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Devin.
No,
Sorry.
you're always allowed to interrupt. I do it all the time.
Dave actually introduced me to Fatima via LinkedIn, and ever since we connected, then that very first message to each other, we have been very connected, and I am so grateful that for that introduction because she is so smart. You're right. And she's extremely inspiring. She inspired me and she helped me. And she's so, I mean, she's younger than I am. And she hasn't went through some experiences, but at the same time, she's so like an old soul. She's got so much little wisdom in her young brain. And I can't wait to see how her career unfolds, and she's so excited, and that to me, that's so inspiring.
Well, I think that's our job as leaders, as we continue through our careers, is to leave the world a better place than when you found it, is to grow people that are, every single person that works at FR Secure has the potential to be better than I was. So if I'm going to do this right, I'm going to invest in that. Right? The mission is to fix the broken industry. The mission isn't to make Evan look good and get my fucking, name everywhere and be on stage. I mean, I don't want any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool to see you guys because you guys fulfill it. You guys fulfill the mission. And someday when you're leading, a team, or you moved up into Melissa's slot, or you've moved into Megan's slot, or maybe even Oscar's slot at some, I mean, as you move up, everything's better, right? Every day it just gets better. I think that's a good leadership thing. So, all right, let's talk about this blog post.
Meanwhile, on the road to hell.
Yeah. The road to hell is paved with convenience.
Oh, so true.
Well,
so
I
what
write
inspired
I write these things because
he just went down the road to hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still here. Forget about it. Sorry about that. Are we still recording? Yeah. I write these things because certain things, like especially on like journaling is really. They say journaling is like really good for you, and sometimes your journals can take. They can take the form of just a notebook next to your bed that you just write in, and it's like a diary thing. Sometimes it can be blog posts, whatever. So for me, it's like blog posts. Like something will irritate me or kick a thought into process, and then I go and just write something about it. So this one came from, how, when you look around and you just see people, and everybody wants convenience. Everybody wants comfort. Everybody wants the easy road. Everybody wants to be given shit. They don't want to earn shit. And, when I was a kid, it's gotten worse. And I think technology's played a big role in that. Right? We used to the technology originally, we would build technology things to make people's lives better. And so now you look at technology and you have to question, is it actually making your life better? Do you feel more fulfilled in your day to day? Do you feel like your connections with friends and family are closer than they've ever been before? Do you feel less distracted? Do you feel more present in the moment? All that shit. And I suffer with it too. Like if my wife doesn't come up and tell me, hey, you've been sitting in front of that computer now for 37 hours, maybe it's time for you to put that down. But I think we've been sold this convenience lie. And I think if you're not, for me personally, if I'm not aware of it or cognizant of it, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the blog post came from. And it is kind of a slow death. It's like there's a smaller percentage of us who can remember growing up without a cell phone. When I had to go to the payphone or I had to call somebody at home. If they weren't at home, I wasn't going to be able to call them.
But like when you were writing this or having the inspiration to write it, was it from a self-reflective perspective or what you saw in others?
I think a combination. I think it usually starts with what I see in myself. And then, you look around for validation. Like, am I crazy? Am I the only one doing this? Am I the only one who sits here and, yearns for comfort and convenience? And then, you start to reflect on like the things like today, being able to just like order a pizza, for instance, just on your phone, order a pizza and it shows up and you eat it. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also, I think, addicting. Because now I can do it with this, and I can do it with that. And I never got up I didn't get up from the couch all day today. Like I have to put on my task list, believe it or not, I have to put on my task list that I left the house today. So every day it's on my list. It's right there. Leave the house. I haven't done it yet today. And the reason why I put that on my list is because of the conveniences that are afforded to me. I can forget to leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when I read the article, there always is that, like you said, a bit of a self-reflection. But I was also looking at it. My son's going to be 18 this month.
Right.
So not necessarily him, but of him, his peers, folks of that age, and where technology has put them in this position. Because I gave him a ride somewhere over the weekend, and I was like, okay, where are we going? And he had planned nothing. So, but it was okay, but I got my phone. So I can look it up right now. Here's the instructions. And, but there was but if you took away the phone or you took away the internet connection or anything, he had no idea how that convenience props you up for potential failure.
Well, for me, it seems to steal away from my humanity. Like humans were built to explore and be curious and solve problems and figure out how I'm going to get from here to there, and what I'm going to do today. And the more we sort of hand off to technology, it feels like the less humanity I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like it would get you come up and go, I'm hungry now. Well, okay.
Right.
I'm glad we're clarifying that, but
Well,
we could have had this conversation an hour ago. We could have planned for it better.
Yeah, and you allude to the idea of like, hey, you don't know something, ask Google, and now that's Copilot or ChatGPT, and that takes that to another level. And I used to get so frustrated prior to ChatGPT, but now still with ChatGPT, like when I ask someone a question and their answer is, you could probably Google it, and I'm like, duh, I know Google exists, man. Like, or they Google it for me and like send me a link, and I'm just like, I asked you because I wanted to talk to you about it. Like, I want to hear you answer that. I want to wrestle with this with you. I don't want the Google answer. I don't want ChatGPT. I mean, I can. There's things you can learn from. Of course, it's nice to have ChatGPT when you don't know an answer and you're trying to kind of figure out, okay, what's the capital of this city or whatever. But like, in place of human discussion, yeah, people might have the wrong answer here and there, but
When you start, I've some of my friends are using ChatGPT to plan out their weekends,
yeah,
to plan out their trips. I have one friend, a pretty close friend, that was using ChatGPT to tell him how to date. It's like, And he was telling me about it. I'm like, what the hell? And he's like, well, it seems to work. I'm like, you know what works better? Get off your ass and go talk to people. You know what I mean? Like, I've had obviously a hell of a lot more dates go bad than the few that went well, and then the one that I eventually landed as my wife. But man, I learned so much about what it was like to be a human being, what it was like to be a good person, to be a good, father, husband, and all of that. Like, but we're becoming so reliant. Like, I wonder. And the cool thing is, like in Mexico, it's a little bit different, because Mexico is quite a bit behind in, the United States in terms of technology. And when Hurricane Lydia came through, that was a Category 4, and it knocked out power here for a week, no water. It was so cool to see how resilient the Mexican people were. They picked up and they just started, grabbed their machetes and started chopping the trees. And, they just started putting everything back together again. I thought how human that was, because it also brought us all together as like a community. It was a great opportunity for me to go there and hang out with them and do shit. And I couldn't help but thinking, like, in the United States, like, how many people could go without their cell phone or power for a week? They would freak the fuck out. Oh my God,
You would
and I
have
know
social
that
collapse to
right.
some degree. Yeah.
Because we've become so dependent upon technology, which we were never built to be dependent upon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, ChatGPT might give better dating advice than, Harold, but but that's a part of life, getting bad dating advice, and
There was a skit I saw online where both sides were using ChatGPT to learn how to date. So the guy would, what do I say? And then he would say it. And she was like, well, he said this. What's my response? And she would give that back. And he was like, ChatGPT, she said this to what I said. Yeah.
And OpenAI right now is dealing with a couple, at least one, I know, class action lawsuit, probably a few more, about this AI-induced psychosis, where, this comes down to the irresponsible use of technology, right? The more you continue to adopt technology irresponsibly, the more you kind of dig yourself a hole. And that's another thing that I think happens all around us. It happens in the businesses that we support as CvCISOs. It's like, why did you buy that? Well, it does this thing. Well, did you need that thing? Because that thing that it's doing, if you didn't need it, if it distracts you from the core mission of the business, then it's useless. You know what I mean? It's actually destructive. But there's where lots of people, kind of treat AI like it's their friend. And it's not your friend. It's never, ever, ever going to be your friend. If you need friends that desperately, again, get off your ass, stop being convenient, and go talk to people. You know what I mean? Yeah, it'd be really super convenient if I could just pull up ChatGPT and look, there's my buddy. But it's not. It's a mathematical algorithm built on large language models. It's never going to be your friend. It doesn't have empathy. It will feign empathy, but that's one of the big things I really need from my friends.
Yeah.
Is empathy. So, and then the AI-induced psychosis is people that have kind of fallen into this false reality that AI is created for them, and essentially they can't even function in real reality. They've handed over essentially all their humanity to a machine. Those are extreme cases, but you just look around your house and you look at all the conveniences you have. Some of those conveniences I think are healthy conveniences, but it's a slippery slope for me. Some of the conveniences are just complete wastes of time, wastes of money. There are times when, like, the biggest therapy for me in getting some of my humanity back when I'm stuck is go work on something, grab some tools, go work on a car, build something. So
Yeah, this is a bit of a squirrel moment because it's not so much convenience, but where technology's played out. And Evan, I think you and I talked about this, but there's a subreddit called My Boyfriend is AI.
yeah.
And it now and I saw it on some other article where the girl was going through this and the AI boyfriend helped her pick what the appropriate ring should be. And so she went out and got the ring based on the feedback of her virtual AI boyfriend. And the article was her highlighting the ring. It was the picture and then backtracking the story. But so it now has 84,000 members. So it's not something, it's not like 6 people out there doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when I was Googling to look that up, there was like some of the articles are, I was mocked at work for loving my AI boyfriend. I need advice. So it's probably inappropriate. I find
Sometimes the world's gonna mock you.
but but to your point, Evan, just where technology has become a substitution for those humanity elements.
Right. I mean, refrigerators that will order your groceries for you automatically, when it's low. Or I find therapy in going to the grocery store, I mean, getting out, walking the aisles, seeing what new products there are. I think it's really easy to just lose yourself because because of convenience.
Yeah.
Doing things right sometimes is hard work. It takes time. It's supposed to be that way. So you trying to substitute, good, healthy, hard work things with convenience. I think it's a bad road, man.
Well, and there's side effects like you mentioned in the article. It's like you want instant results. The more instantaneous things get, the less patience you have.
Right.
And it's like, it reminds me of that line from Evan Almighty. Where they're like, if someone prays for patience, do you think God just zaps them with patience, or do you think He gives them opportunities to be patient? And I think that kind of connects with some of
so
your final thoughts on the article is that.
Yeah, and from like a security perspective, like you continue to add more and more technology into an environment that you already don't understand. At some point, you're going to have to take the time to understand it. So you just continue to make the problem worse and worse and worse. The more, take asset inventory and asset management, for instance. You just have to do it. Now, you can use tools to do it, but you have to build an asset inventory and manage your assets. That's a fundamental and it's just logical, right? I can't possibly protect the things, at least not effectively. I can't protect the things I don't know about. And we've seen evidence of this over and over and over again with incident response. One of the classic responses from the customer when you're working on an incident response is, what is that thing? Where did that come from? I didn't even know we had that thing. Well, you do now. So it's like this, you keep kicking the can down the road. Eventually, and this is age-old wisdom, right? The chickens come home to roost. Eventually there's a critical mass. Eventually it's going to hurt more than it would if you would have done it right from the beginning. And not to mention, when it hurts, you still got to do it right from the beginning. You just got to do it again. So it's like, another thing is like firewalls, right? Firewalls were always built to do ingress and egress filtering. Always. Back in the day when we first started employing and installing firewalls, when they were brand new concept, you always set it up ingress, the traffic coming into the network from a less trusted network and egress traffic going from the trusted network to the less trusted network, right? Because we understood the value of keeping the bad guys out, but we also understood the value of keeping the good shit in.
Right.
So it doesn't leak, right? So that was always a fundamental, but then convenience. Well, it's too much work. We keep installing new shit. We can't keep up with the traffic flows. Well, slow down for a second and be responsible with this, because it's going to come back to haunt you. Guaranteed. You look at every data breach, almost every data breach that involved data exfiltration, there was no egress filtering at all. You look at SolarWinds, right? One of the most famous attacks where everybody said it was impossible to mitigate this attack. That's bullshit. It was possible to mitigate this attack, and there was somebody who did mitigate the attack. It was the IRS. They mitigated the attack because they had egress filtering where their SolarWinds system couldn't talk to the internet. That was a proper install where they did things correctly.
Right.
Because there was no longer any command and control. So they had the shitty software, it had the infected, vulnerable software, but there was no way for the attackers to communicate with that software because they had egress filtering. Somebody had installed the firewall the correct way. And then you had people like experts in our industry, like Kevin Mandia and FireEye, right? I don't know if you remember that story, but FireEye, the way they originally became aware of this attack was their own proprietary tools. They were seeing them on the dark web. Somebody had stolen their own tools, right? And so they're like, well, how did this happen? And so they didn't even have really good monitoring on that network to find out that there's traffic here that shouldn't be here. They found out externally. And then the fact that the attacker was able to exfiltrate these tools and that you hadn't mitigated the attack, what does that tell you about FireEye's or Mandiant's own employment of firewalls?
Right.
The experts aren't even doing it right. It's like, holy shit. So these things, this out of convenience, right? Because it's a lot more convenient for me as an MSP, for me as your IT provider, for me to sell you a firewall, plug that thing in, do a default deny, and only allow port 80 to your web server, 443 to your web server, 25 to your firewall or to your mail server, if you got one, or maybe whatever. But only have to lock down, open up a half dozen ports coming in and say we're done. Bullshit. You're not done. That's the convenient shortcut way to do it. The right way to do it is now we have to figure out what all your outbound traffic should be and do the same thing egress. Right. So it's not only do these things have a huge life effect, I think, on you and your humanity and maybe your own mental health, but I think it has a huge impact on how we do information security work. You have to do it right. I don't give a shit if it's convenient or not. You do it right. And sure, the business has to, you have to have this balance. The business is in business to make money, right? So we can't lock things down and make things more difficult than they should be, all in the name of doing things right. But there has to be a trade-off on convenience. Critical things like your firewall, that's a pretty critical piece of equipment in your network. I think you better get that one right.
And that gets back to some flavor of situational awareness of what's going on.
And when I've lectured security people about this or lectured network engineers about this, they all kind of laugh, like, you have no idea how much work that is. I'm like, yeah, I sort of do. But is that an excuse? Because it's cumbersome? Is that an excuse for not doing something correctly? I mean, I guess it's a question you have to ask for yourself. But for me, that's a no-brainer. For something that critical in my environment, I don't care if it costs $10,000 more and takes 10 weeks more, that piece of equipment is supposed to function this way, and it's not.
Yeah, and to some degree, it's more work because you took the convenient path all the time to get to here. So you got more to reverse engineer.
Oh, God, right? If you would have started from back in the day when I was first installing those first firewalls, and you would have implemented that firewall correctly, that was easy because you didn't have a lot of outbound traffic flows then. You had a lot less
Right.
applications. But then we would have done the right thing as well from a governance perspective and had change control in place, right? Then it would have grown and you would have had a firewall today that would have been very locked down with good control around it. And you wouldn't have had to pay the convenience price really. Whereas today, you've got things so shitty, and I've consulted businesses that wanted to go to like zero trust, right? Just start with zero trust on a network. I want to slow down or make it harder for attackers to move laterally in my network. That's a great idea. You should have architected that from the beginning. And you're in a spot right now where you've got so much shit on this network. My best advice for you is to start over.
Yeah.
Start over, build a parallel environment, environment over here that's built correctly and migrate shit over, as opposed to trying to fix something that's just so fucked up. But convenience always seems to. You don't want to make more work for yourself everywhere. That's stupid as well. It's a balance. But it seems like when it comes down to working hard and convenience always wins. And you can keep going down this convenience path. You forget about the hard work path, and then you find yourself in dire straits. And you wonder how you got there. That's how you got there.
Yeah, and you allude to it in the article too. Like, what has convenience gotten you? There's the the side effects, but also like, okay, you just saved yourself an hour. What'd you do with that hour? What happened to it?
I was on social media. Oh, great. That was great investment.
Well, and to some degree, it's kind of a universal thing. I mean, we're taking it here and applying it to technology and what we do professionally. But if we took that path of convenience and a personal relationship that we're in, we just cut a lot of corners that take away foundationally what makes that relationship as special as it could be.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot more convenient for me not to buy flowers for my wife once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hell of a lot more convenient for me just to leave my dirty clothes laying next to the bed every night. Not put the seat down on the toilet. That's all. That's a lot more convenient for me, but that's it's not going to serve well.
Those are all excellent examples.
But I think that's where it started. Was thinking about these things myself, like, because I'm no better than anybody else. I have the same, I think, propensities, urges, as everybody else. And to make the matters worse, I'm an addict. Right. So you add those things together, it's really easy for me to go down the path and, be more. So that's why I have to spend time, I think, thinking these things through. Like, plus, I bought so much shit, and my wife is now on my ass. Not a while back, she's on my ass. Like, why are you buying that? You don't even use it. You didn't even use that last thing you bought. I'm like, fuck, she's right. I didn't use that last thing that I bought. Eventually, the guilt kind of hits you from that too. All right.
We are so far over time.
I know, because you guys got me going and I just keep preaching.
Where were you, Andy? Thanks a lot.
But
yeah, Mojo,
to his credit,
we have to showcase you more next week, Mojo, or whenever you come back, because I want to hear you talking more.
Yeah.
Well, just listening to you guys and, understanding where I can, from my perspective, just in relation to how you guys are feeling, I'm like, okay, yeah, I have often viewed things in a very similar way and perspective as the three of you on certain things. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't feel quite as nutty in my thinking now as I had been. So you guys are great. It was really, really fun to listen to this conversation. Now, I do have one dirty, rotten, happy ending news story. If you guys would like to, I have
We
two,
always
but
have time.
we can do
Let's hear it.
one.
Let's hear
Hey,
it.
before I don't want to like be the mud here, but like before you get, I want to hear that. But I did, because we were talking about this article, the how to turn it around piece. I just want to like mention those and maybe get Joe's perspective on those. So you can give your perspective.
I like it.
On the
And then you can bring us home with the dirty rottens.
Sounds like a plan.
But Evan says, even Evan's here, but I'm going to say what you said, Evan. I'm going to read your thing.
Read it.
How to turn this around, this convenience to hell problem. Choose friction on purpose. Stay curious. Relearn skills that make you independent. Value depth over speed. And be grateful for struggle. What's your thoughts on that, Joe?
Well, choosing friction on purpose. To me, don't take shortcuts. Learn it, do it, know it. Live it, and then teach it. And always learning, being curious, that before you even trust it, pay attention to that situational awareness that you guys were alluding to. And then relearning skills that make you independent. Yeah, and that I think includes soft skills as well. So it's not just techie skills, but also soft skills. Learning how to have that nice bedside manner in a way, and and being grateful for that opportunity to be there, to be able to help, and then also valuing depth over speed. So I do agree with that. Anything worth doing it does take time. It just does. I didn't learn everything in a day. It took me 5.5 years just to get this far. So you don't learn it in a day, and which rolls right into being grateful for that struggle. I mean, there are some times I had to write papers. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about, but I had to figure it out. And it wasn't that the assignment was trying to punish me. It was really learning how to take the practice of researching to understand the content and the context of what I was learning, and practicing that. So instead of trying to shortcut myself and going to Chat GPT to learn something, I really took the time to kind of follow a learning path, via research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So that
I think the best way to learn something still, I look over my life and think of the ways I've learned the most effectively. It's been break it and fix it, and do it without Google. Like, if you want to learn to be a great pen tester, and yeah, you'll be a little bit slower into the field, don't use Google. Don't, because then you're forced to figure out, not just because Google will tell you how to do it, but it doesn't tell you how it actually works. And what happens if you change this one thing to that thing? What happens then? So it's like going through that process of, plus it helps make it stick. Like, you don't forget those times when you were like in dire straits, like, oh shit, I really fucked this one up. And then figure out how to get out of it. Like, Google's never going to teach you that. And you're never going to forget it. You're always going to remember, like, okay, I remember when I took that path, that hurt really bad. I'm not going to take that path again.
Yeah. Yeah, the be grateful for the struggle there. You say it's not punishment, it's practice. Oh, if we could all just hold on to that, I mean, it's strengthening you. The struggle is strengthening you. You can't build strength without a little struggle. That's so important.
Yeah, I agree, man. Every single time.
Yeah. It's like when your mom said, don't touch the stove.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a practice.
My mom didn't have to use Google to find that out, I don't think.
Yeah. I think when my mom said, yeah, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Dad said, don't touch your mother. Give it a shot. Let us know how it plays out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
And remember, we don't have health
Those little
insurance.
gems.
Yeah. Still got other fingers. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Suck it up.
All right. Give us the happy endings, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a couple of them, but I'm going to start with this one here. So this is a former Northeastern University employee, and he was sentenced for staging a hoax explosion and also making false statements. So here's one for the brilliant criminal masterminds list. Jason Duhame, he was a former lab manager at Northeastern University, and he had just earned himself a year and a day in prison for faking an explosion and then lying to federal agents about it. So, in his brilliance in 2022, Duhame called campus police, claiming that a plastic case exploded in his lab, and it cut his arms. It spewed metal shards everywhere. He said there was a terrifying note inside that warned of more attacks to come. So naturally, campus went into full lockdown mode. They sent out bomb squads, federal investigators, and first responders, and those guys rushed in and they treated it like it was really the real deal. So the chaos that followed was like pure havoc. They cleared buildings. The students were very panicked. Emergency crews they were pouring in from across the city. But when everything kind of calmed down and the dust settled, investigators had noticed kind of something odd. And so the so-called anonymous threat letter. And on the website, it had a picture, and you could see, what this threat letter actually read. So I'm just going to paraphrase it here, but it existed as a file on his own work computer. And forensics had later showed that he wrote it and he printed it hours before it was the supposed blast. And then to top it all off, he tried to hide the USB drive that he used it by tossing it at the campus gym, as if that would somehow erase all the evidence for him. So in top of that, the stunt wasted huge amounts of time, money, manpower. It diverted law enforcement from actual emergencies, and it actually terrified people for absolutely no reason. So although in the court documents the motive was never stated outright, prosecutors had called this Dirty Rotten's fake bomb stunt very selfish and reckless, and the FBI reminded everyone that hoaxes like these are crimes. They're not hobbies. I mean, seriously, what did this guy think was going to happen? What did he expect the outcome to be? I mean, what was he looking to gain? So I call this kind of my face palm moment, because his brilliance was blinding when he printed his own threat letter and then he called the cops about it. And this is not exactly criminal genius. And in the end, he didn't just fake an explosion, he torched his career, he shredded his credibility, and whatever was left of his common sense.
Did they ever say why?
No, there was no, I couldn't find anywhere where there was a motivator behind it.
Yeah.
But he was obviously very disgruntled.
Yeah.
Somehow, but don't know why.
Hate to lump all of higher education under that one, but this guy missed the boat on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I've got one more if you all want to listen to it.
I do.
You're up.
Do it.
We'll take two happy endings.
All right. So this Chinese national who deployed kill switch code on an employer's network was sentenced to 4 years in prison. So talk about don't get mad, get even. He took this way too literally. So this Dirty Rotten is a 55-year-old Houston software developer. His name was Davis Liu, and he earned himself 4 years in federal prison for planting a workplace revenge trap inside his company's network. So here's the story. So after losing some job duties, Liu built a sneaky piece of code called Is DL Enabled in AD, which is short for Is Davis Liu Enabled in Active Directory. And his code was designed in a way that if the company ever kicked him out, it would make sure everyone else went down with him. So when HR finally pulled the plug, it worked like a charm. Servers crashed, workers were locked out, and again, more chaos. So the damage actually ran into hundreds of thousands of dollars, as reported. And investigators later found that Liu had been urging good old Google to search out just how to hide his activity, escalate privileges, and wipe traces of his sabotaging, which consequently, of course, left behind just enough evidence to fill an entire case file. And this all stemmed because he was a disgruntled developer who couldn't handle the job title downgrade.
Yep.
That's all it was. So my facepalm moment here is the FBI, which they called it a textbook insider case, but honestly, it kind of reads more like a cautionary tale, where anyone who thinks that malice is a good strategy should think again, because he didn't just burn his professional bridge, but he burnt a network and his own career there too. And not only that, his revenge plan was named after himself. So you're not really a hacker there. You're just kind of your own IT ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
We need like a facepalm sound. Can we get
I know.
sound effect? It should be like a slap and then like a
This is the facepalm registry, straight out of.
Would that be considered a logic bomb?
Yeah. Both of them are logic bombs.
Mm-hmm. Illogic bombs.
Yeah.
Illogic bombs.
Stupid
yes.
bomb.
Yeah. If you built a logic bomb, you'd use some flipping logic.
And these all happened this year, by the way.
Sorry, I'm looking for a face palm sound effect.
Just don't use convenient technology. Just use your mouth. You can do here. Face palm.
Face palm. Ouch.
Oh yeah, now my forehead's red.
All right. Good episode, you guys. Thanks for all the therapy.
That was good, yeah.
Thanks, guys. This
Love you.
was
Thanks
fun.
for the article, Evan. Thanks for being here, Joe, Dave.
Yeah.
Love you.
Thank you all.
Have a great weekend.
And to our audience.
Right on. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.